Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Let me put it this way. Are you sacrificing your best life because you can't seem to pull yourself away from your addiction? What are you trading? Can you have your cake and eat it too? On today's episode, I'm simply going to present you with some questions, some food for thought. My hopes is that through this, you'll start to ask yourself, when is enough enough? And more importantly, when will I let God step in and take over? Do you feel completely broken? Are you facing obstacles like depression, anxiety, addiction, divorce, grief, or all of the above? And you're awake at night wondering how you're going to overcome it all? Well, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Broken to Blessed podcast. Here you'll gain strength, encouragement, and victory as you learn how to fight your battles the right way, not with your flesh, but with scripture, prayer, and God on your side. Hi there, I'm Randy, a work in progress. My battles have been many, from addiction to depression, and most recently, divorce. I've felt lost and broken and wondered how I was going to survive. But God is bigger than our problems, and if you're walking a dark season, know that there is peace that passes all understanding, even in the midst of our storms. The pain is only temporary. God will not leave you in the valley or let the fire consume you. No matter what you're facing, He will hold you up with His righteous right hand. You, friend, are redeemed. So don't lose heart and don't give up. God's going to make your life crazy good as we go from broken to blessed. Let's do this. Hello, friend. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. If I sound kind of funny, it's because I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize. But I want to start by saying congratulations. And you're like, why? Well, because you've made it this far into the episode. If you're like, yeah, Randy, we just started. I really haven't made it that far. Yeah, we did. But you know what? You said to yourself, I'm willing. I'm willing to ask myself the hard questions. That's a win already. So good on you, mate. Good on you. If you're willing to ask the hard questions, that honestly means that you've answered yes to the first one, which is, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Yes. Yes, you are. I should have just titled this episode Questions because there's a lot of questions coming. And I thought it would be like a good baseline for the beginning of the year here because we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions if we truly want to move forward. Now, I want to do a loose definition of addiction for the purpose of this episode. And so when I refer to your addiction, I'm talking about a sin that is holding you back from experiencing your best life in Christ. What is the thing that is consuming your time, your finances, your mind, your flesh? What is the thing that you're constantly going back to that's having a negative impact on your mind, your body, and your spiritual life? Perhaps this thing is having a negative impact on your family, your marriage, your relationships. You know, what is that thing? The thing you can't seem to live without. The thing you self-medicate with. It may be multiple things. This could be drinking, it could be smoking, vaping, recreational drugs, it could be pornography, sex, online pursuits, gambling, you name it. What is the thing that is holding you hostage? And before you make excuses for the thing, such as like, well, I only do it on this day, or at this time, or in this amount, I have another question for you. I told you there was going to be questions. How's that working out for you? After all, you're here, aren't you? Listening to this. Because you are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So let's get into it. Point number 1 I want to share with you. Satisfying the flesh is always going to leave you empty, sick, and tired. Are you feeling empty? You're always going to have to go back for more. There's a saying, and it goes something like this one. 1 is too many and 1,000 is not enough. It's referring to alcohol. If you're an alcoholic and you've caved and had that first beer, 1 is too many because now you're on the fast track to destruction. There's no stopping it. 1,000 is not enough because that craving will never be satisfied. The emptiness is still going to be there no matter how many drinks you have. Trust me, I know this. I've experienced it with my own addictions and I've seen it with other people. If you've ever found trash bags full of empty liquor bottles and beer cans or cleaned up after a get-together that got wildly out of hand, you know what I'm talking about. It's 1,000's not enough in reality. It's so sad to be in that position, by the way, to see people you love throwing their life away over and over and over again. I've found alcohol, I've dumped out alcohol many, many times, but that's another episode. Proverbs 27:20 says, "Death and destruction are never satisfied, and neither are human eyes." When you're focused on flesh, nothing will be enough to satisfy it. You'll always have to have one more drink, one more drag, one more line, one more porn search, one more hookup. More. It's what someone in my family used to refer to as a more monster. A more monster is basically, has a toddler's attitude. If you've ever been around a toddler, you know what I'm talking about. They're never satisfied. They always want more. More cookies, more playtime, more Elmo. Whatever it is, it's not enough. It's never enough because they lack maturity. They lack the ability to understand what they're doing. They think if they just have more, that it'll be okay. And it is until it isn't. And then what do you get? You get a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum on the floor because they want more. A more monster. The things of this world will never be enough. But Jesus said, "Whoever drinks from the water he gives them will never thirst again." Are you thirsty for more than what the world has to offer? Point number 2, you cannot have both. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. I know, so sad. Are you trying to have it all? When we're new to the faith, giving up things that brought us satisfaction before can feel scary. The old things can be comforting. After all, it, quote, works in the sense that we know there is, quote, success in the method, even if it's a short time, even if it's short-lived. When we're addicted to something, we tend to think in the short term. We don't want to think about what's going to happen when the high wears off. We don't really care about that in the moment. Nope. In the moment, we want it all. We want the high. We want the pain to be gone as quick as possible to feel the pleasure of the act of doing whatever it is we're doing. We don't want to think of the consequences. But as I said in point number 1, it's always going to leave you empty. You're always going to be more broken than before. But even if we know this, we don't always want to willingly give up the addiction. Now, many times we're trying to straddle 2 lives at the same time. We're trying to have the old and the new. We want the dark and the light. We want to party on Saturday night and then sit in church on Sunday morning like nothing happened. Yep, myself included, y'all. It's true. Let me ask you this question. Can you take a walk around your neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and at 2 in the morning at the same time? You're like, no, Randy, that's a really stupid question. Duh. It's literally impossible because we can't experience time simultaneously. It's one or the other. Exactly. You cannot walk in the light and the darkness at the same time. You cannot drink from the cup of the Lord and the cup of the demons at the same time. You have to pick one, and then you have to stay in your lane. Now, you can do both. You can try that method for a time, but it's going to be short-lived. You're going to start swerving into traffic, and eventually you're going to cause some serious damage to yourself and to those around you. You're going to hurt people. You're going to hurt yourself. You will fall away. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other." It's one or the other. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a loving relationship, but then you're secretly looking at porn or dancing on that line of infidelity. You can't expect honesty from other people, but then you lying about your drinking. You can't show up and be a good Christian on Sunday, but then the rest of the week you're living for your flesh. Are you trying to have it both ways? Hard questions, y'all. This brings me to point number 3, and then we will wrap it up. What are you sacrificing for your addiction? Life is about sacrifices. If you're in an addiction, you're trading something for that addiction. I don't care who you are or what your addiction is. You're trading something. You're trading trust in a relationship or your marriage for that addiction. You're trading your family and children for that addiction. You're trading a job opportunity or your finances for that addiction. You're trading your home and security for that addiction. You're trading your life for that addiction. You're trading peace for that addiction. You're trading your soul for that addiction. You are trading the best things God can offer you, bless you with, because you don't want to give up what's actually hurting you. The thing that you think is helping you get through is actually causing you more harm. So, main question, okay? What are you trading for your addiction? What have you already traded for your addiction? Now, if you're of the older generation, you may remember that kids used to be really into trading cards, specifically baseball cards. I know, this is where we're going, all right? Roll with it. I don't even know if kids care about that stuff anymore. But if you remember, there used to be some pretty valuable baseball cards. And apparently, the most valuable baseball card, just FYI, is the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle card, which sold for $12.6 million in 2022. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet card. Can you imagine if you realized that you had that card and you traded it for some stupid, low-value card that was worth pennies? All because at the time, that Mickey Mantle card didn't seem valuable. You thought the low-value card was more attractive, and in the moment, you really didn't think twice about trading your Mickey Mantle card. Now, in hindsight, you realize that you traded $12.6 million for something worthless. What are you trading, or what have you already traded for trash? Something that's only broken you, left you empty, and still craving more. What have you traded? Now, there is good news with all these questions, okay? The good news is God is faithful. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it." What you're going through right now, it's not abnormal. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all struggle with the flesh. But God will provide a way out. There's always a way out. There's always a way back to him. The next verse, 14, says, "Therefore, my beloved, flee from idolatry." Truly, we have made our addiction an idol. We're placing it at the top of our priority list as the end-all be-all of coping skills and satisfaction. This is not a healthy coping skill, y'all. This is not true satisfaction. It's only a distraction. It's only pulling you down and further away from God. So to recap on some questions, number 1, is your addiction leaving you feeling empty? Number 2, are you trying to straddle two lives, living in darkness and the light? And number 3, what are you ultimately trading to feed your addiction? Questions only you can answer with plenty of prayer. But the real question is, yes, more questions. Are you willing to sacrifice it, to give it to God, to lay it at his feet, to ask God, help me? Will you help me, Lord? I pray you ask him this today. We'll be covering more on this in upcoming episodes and talking about real change, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening, by the way. It takes courage and accountability to face this, so honestly, you're in the right place. You're asking the hard questions. I pray that you find hope and healing today and rest in knowing that God will help you every step of the way. For more, please be sure to visit me at brokenandblessed.com and on YouTube at Randy Tisdale. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll catch you next time.